Shigeru Miyamoto has said multiple times in the past that his inspiration for the Legend of Zelda series came from his childhood memories of exploring forests and finding cool places like caves and ponds. This feeling of discovery is what fueled the first Zelda game, and it's what brought the series back to its roots with Breath of the Wild. I've always loved the feeling of just jumping into the world of a game completely blind and being able to explore to my heart's content without any hand-holding. Today I want to talk about a game that captured that feeling like no other. That game is Cube World. For those of you who have already kept up on all the drama surrounding Cube World's release, don't worry, I'm not going to talk about all that stuff. Today, I really just want to focus on Cube World's core design and why the original alpha release of the game made exploration and discovery so much fun. I'm Jack Green, and this is Hybrid Plays. With the creation of this video, I'm not beating a dead horse, I'm essentially nuking an already nuked horse. Hey guys, this is my horse. I just wanted you to take a look at my horse, and thanks for checking out my horse. Hundreds of videos have already been made about Cube World's rise and fall since its official release, and you might be rolling your eyes at the fact that I'm even talking about it. However, just in case this is the first time you're hearing about this game, I'll give you a very brief synopsis of its background. Cube World is a procedurally generated open-world RPG in which you find dungeons, fight monsters, craft weapons, join up with friends, and have adventures. The whole game was made by one person, Wale. He released an alpha of the game in 2013. People everywhere, myself included, really enjoyed it. He continued to work on the game for a very, very long time, with minimal updates. And by updates I not only mean actual software updates, but also news updates in general. Wale was known for tweeting like once a year. Anyway, the full and final game finally came out in 2019, and it was poorly received. After waiting over half a decade, fans were substantially let down by this release. This new version felt nothing like the original alpha, and while many things were changed for the better, even more things seem to have been changed for the worse. Luckily, I still own my alpha copy of the game, and I have really fond memories of exploring this world and the joy of discovering cool things, fighting enemies and everything. And I remember that a lot of those feelings had felt lost, unfortunately, when the final version of the game came out. So to break things down, we're going to be playing both versions of the game and analyzing their differences. Let's start at the beginning, the 2013 alpha release. There is a lot to love about Cube World's alpha. As soon as you start off, you find yourself in this lush, sprawling landscape. One thing that Cube World has always excelled at is its sense of scale. Fields stretch out into the horizon, mountains spawn in realistic ranges and are totally huge. There are rivers, lakes, big rocks, forests. When it comes to world generation, Cube World nails it. This type of terrain was super impressive to see back in 2013 when Minecraft was really the only other game similar to this, and it made me excited to just run around this world and see what was out there. This leads us to the first topic I want to touch upon, the joy of discovery. Cube World gives you this super cool world map, and when you spawn in, the whole thing is covered in blue. However, in the distance you can see markers for towns and quests. So while you don't know what's out there, you still have places to set your sights on. Like I said in the beginning of this episode, I love the feeling of jumping into a game blind and discovering its world. Cube World captured this feeling really well because of the sheer amount of questions that I wanted answered. What other biomes were out there? What would an ocean be like? What will I find in the dungeons? In truth, the alpha doesn't really have that much variety, as there are only a few biomes and most quests are the same, but the mystery of its world was more than enough to drive progression. For me personally, I love finding new environments. Each biome has its own town, creatures, bosses, structures, you name it. So my goal when I first played the game was to see every environment. I had a blast discovering the snowlands and the desert, and when I got to the ocean, it was a dream come true. So you can imagine my disappointment when I played the final game and saw this. What the hell? What in the wide world of sports is this shit? In the final version of Cube World, the map is completely filled in. So my adventures in the final game went something like this. Oh wow, what a lush and beautiful world! I can't wait to explore it! I wonder where the ocean is! Oh, there it is. Not only is the whole shit revealed from the start, but apparently, come to find out, every map is the same. If you and I both buy this game, we are both playing in identical worlds. What the bull fucking hell? I'm sorry, because I really don't want to be disrespectful and start shitting on this game like so many others, but this just blows my mind. How can a game about creating your own world and discovering all of its unique locations just totally abandon that idea? It'd be like if a Souls-like got rid of bosses. It's like, that was the whole point? Now, I'm not going to try to figure out why Wale made this change, because for all I know it could have something to do with technical limitations or who knows what. But the decision to have the entire map revealed from the start is a different story. That didn't have to be that way, and although it probably seems like a small change, well, it's not. It's huge. Call me a crybaby.
You're a crybaby.
I wasn't being serious. But like 90% of my excitement to play this game was gone the minute I saw this map. Literally my favorite aspect of the original game had been removed. That overwhelming feeling of discovery, that burning question of what was out there, those things had just been made pointless. And yes, just because you know what's out there doesn't mean there's no point in going there, but it certainly makes the trip way less fun. It's tough to extrapolate a design lesson from this point because, honestly, there's not really much to break down. In my humble opinion, if you're making a game about exploration, you can't just expect people to want to explore your world. You have to give them incentive. One of the primary reasons we explore is to discover the unknown. Remember the first time you walked up to Bleak Falls Barrow in Skyrim? Or Sen's Fortress in Dark Souls? I mean, hell, if you've ever played Minecraft, then surely you know the joy of setting out on an adventure to find dungeons, towns, caves, and all sorts of other things. Imagine if you started up Minecraft with a map that showed you the location of all those things. In an open world game, people want to find things out for themselves. It's one of the biggest incentives to explore. However, there are other things that are needed to motivate the player to travel your world. Things like exciting gameplay and epic loot, as they say.
So you're probably saying to me, hey, Jackie, come on, kid, what's the matter? Why are you so upset? I know the whole world map got revealed and everything. There's no more point to go explore. There's gotta be some point to go and explore, right? You gotta find the epic loot to kill the bosses or something, kid. Come on, kid.
Let's talk about progression. Jumping back into the alpha, another thing that made the game so fun was the skill tree. It was small, but effective. Cube World has 4 classes: Warriors, Rangers, Mages, and Rogues. Each of these classes can use different weapons and armor, and they also have their own unique skills that can be unlocked. For example, as a Ranger, I was able to unlock this kick attack, which was great at stunning enemies and creating distance in a fight. Later I unlocked this backwards jump, which can act as a great way out of a tight situation. And even later still, after grinding a decent amount, I got this sniper ability, which makes you invisible if you let it charge up all the way. I think it does extra damage too. There's not a lot of clarity here, but whatever, it's cool nonetheless. If I had chosen a different class, I would have gotten access to completely different skills, which makes for a great deal of replayability. This might sound like a tried and true RPG system, and it is, but the point is that Cube World had progression. Killing enemies gave you experience points, which were used to level up and get new skills, and coins, which were also found on enemies, were used to buy better gear. There was what designers would call a gameplay loop. Go out on an adventure, gain XP and coins, come back to town and buy better stuff, and then go back out and tackle harder things, all the while leveling up and gaining new abilities. Now let's jump back over to the final release. Well, as a great martial artist once said,
I hope you like pain.
prepare to get your fucking ass kicked. I mean, holy hell. When I first played this version of the game, I didn't understand why I was losing so badly to every enemy I found. I mean, I'm not exaggerating when I say that every single battle is a fight for your life. That is, when you're first starting out. According to other YouTubers, once you get better gear, you become overpowered, but I'm gonna be honest, I did not have the patience to get that far myself. Here's how it goes. You start the game out at level 1, you go out into the wild expecting to fight enemies and level up like in the alpha, and instead you're greeted with a surprise prostate exam from every enemy you have the misfortune of coming across. It didn't become clear to me until doing some research that I guess there's just no scaling in this version. Enemies just spawn at random difficulties no matter what level you are or how far you are from where you spawned in. I thought back to my days playing the alpha and thought there's no way that this is how the previous version did it. I just didn't remember having this kind of trouble. So I went back to the alpha and created a new character so that I could get some perspective. After putting a few hours into this character, I can't tell you exactly how the alpha handles enemy scaling, but I can certainly tell you that starting out is much easier. It's still really tough. It'll take a while before you're able to buy any of the good stuff or beat any bosses, but you'll be able to kill normal enemies as long as you're smart about the battles you pick. And once you've beaten enough enemies, you'll level up and be able to get a new skill, not to mention your stats go up. So how does leveling work in the final game? Well, first off, killing enemies doesn't give you XP. You know, it's funny, it almost sounded like you just said that enemies don't give you XP.
I did.
Oh, okay, that's terrible. Alright, continue. Enemies drop items and coins, but that's it. There isn't really leveling up in this version. The only thing similar is that your stats slightly increase when you find an artifact, but these items are the rewards for beating dungeons, and you won't be able to beat a dungeon until you've gotten better gear, and you can't get better gear until you either find it or buy it, and finding or buying it requires you to kill stuff, and killing stuff is impossible. This game is harder than Dark Souls, changed my mind. From what I understand, the skill tree has been removed because you get these skills in other ways. There are 3 things I haven't really talked about yet: the hang glider, the boat, and pets. In the alpha, you could get the boat and hang glider from the shop, but you couldn't actually use these things until you had unlocked the skill for them. After that, you could continue to spend points into these skills to make each vehicle faster. Similarly, pets could be acquired by taming them with food, but to ride them you had to unlock the pet tamer skill. It was really fun to unlock these things and finally be able to travel the world faster and do cool hang glider tricks, like this! In the final version, these items are found out in the world instead of bought and unlocked. This isn't necessarily a bad change, but Cube World does something really weird. These items are region locked. As you can see, the world map is split up into regions. Every time you cross the border of a region, the items you found in that region disappear. The joke is that you have to collect them in each region separately. Also, any weapons and armor that you found in a region become low level when you leave the region that they were found in. This was probably the feature that was complained about the most. I mean, I'm still steamed about the map being filled in, but you know, that's just me. This is bad too. It's basically like this goes from an open world game to a game split into zones, where each zone has its own independent progression. Honestly, there's really no good reason to explore outside of the starting region, because you'll just be undoing all the progress you've made so far. To understand why Wale may have made this change, I think it's important to reiterate his design environment. Wale was developing this game with little to no feedback from anyone else. As far as we could tell, he wasn't bringing the game to events, he wasn't asking the fans what they wanted to see, he just had his nose to the grindstone and was doing his thing. And one of the biggest dangers of working in a vacuum is that you start to become blind to the bigger picture. I should know, because when I was starting out, I would do the same thing. When you have no one to bounce ideas off of and no feedback to reference, you're left completely up to your own devices, and sometimes you start to make really weird decisions. So in the case of Cube World, Wale probably saw the region locking as a way to extend playtime. I can kinda see how that thought process might work, in a way that each region would be like starting a new run in the game, and that because progression was locked to each region, there would always be something to do the more you explored. On paper it makes sense, because you certainly don't want the player to run out of things to accomplish. But unfortunately this feature just doesn't really fit into Cube World's overall feel, and I think if Wale had released some beta updates before the release, he would have found this out a lot sooner. It just goes to show that when you're neck deep in a project, sometimes it takes an outsider viewpoint to pull you out. Cube World is a game that I really wanted to enjoy. But between the abandoned sense of discovery surrounding the new map system and the lack of any true progression system, this game just ends up being a shell of what it could have been. And it hurts to say, because not only was I a huge fan of the alpha, but as a designer I feel Wale's pain, to some extent. He worked on this thing for 6 years just to have his dreams completely crushed by negative reviews, online trolls, and hate mail. The criticism is one thing, but the verbal abuse was never deserved. This might make me sound like a hypocrite because I just spent 10 minutes shitting on this game, but I would never talk shit about the designer. Wale is clearly a super talented guy. The art style is great, the procedural generation is top tier, he's clearly a decent programmer. I mean, hell, I didn't even touch upon the music, which is probably the best addition to the final version. All of the music you've heard in this video has been from Cube World. This project has always been synonymous with potential, and I'd hate to see that potential go to waste. It's never too late to save a game, and the reason I say this is because Cube World has a lot in common with the launch of No Man's Sky. Upon release, the reputations of Hello Games and Sean Murray were tarnished seemingly beyond repair. People wanted this man dead. He was called a liar, a scumbag, a scam artist. He was even called, and I probably shouldn't even be saying this on YouTube, a poo-poo head. It seemed like there was no coming back for No Man's Sky. But then they did what most studios would have been too afraid to do. They doubled down on the game. They fixed its issues, added features, and listened to the fans. Because at the end of the day, those people were only upset because they had wanted to like the game. Fast forward 5 years later, and No Man's Sky has not only gotten countless new updates, but its reputation has been restored. Hello Games went from a team of scumbags to the team that didn't give up. I don't know if Wale intends to continue working on Cube World. For all we know, he might not even want to continue with game development in general. But I know for a fact that if he sticks with the game, the fans will be right there too. This game isn't impossible to fix. All it takes is the recognition of its flaws and accountability for the changes made. And I think this can lead us, as designers, to an extremely important takeaway. Don't wait to test your game. Don't keep it to yourself, don't go dark, don't wait till release to get criticism. You should be getting constant feedback as often as possible during development. Stay active on social media, attend events, show it to your friends, have demo nights at your house, do as much as you can to get as many hands on the controller as possible. The sooner you can get player feedback, the sooner you can work out any kinks and get your game on the path to success. And one last thing, don't reveal your whole world map. Please. I'll just be really upset.
Well guys, I think that just about sums up this episode of Hybrid Plays, so I hope you enjoyed, and I hope you're able to take something away from this story. As always, if you're working on your own games and you want me to play something specific for the channel, please leave a comment below and let me know. I, for one, am making my own game. It's called Gigasword, and it's about a kid who wields a ginormous sword that weighs him down. If you haven't heard of it yet, you can check out the reveal trailer on this channel, and you can also come check out the Discord server, where you can talk to me and all the other fans of the game and check out things like devlog updates, fun memes, and music recommendations. Other than that, I just want to give a quick shout out to our awesome patrons. Thank you guys so much for supporting me for yet another month of this ridiculous nonsense. I love you guys so much. And to everybody else, I hope you learned something today, and take care. I'll see you next time. So today what I want to do is jump back into the alpha and compare that gameplay to the gameplay of... Oh boy. Oh boy. Oh boy.
In the alpha, you could get the boat and hang glider. You guys, it's tough. It's tough. The map being filled in and the lacking sense of discovery is one thing, but a strong Oh my god, you guys. Prepare to get your fucking ass kicked. I keep hitting this fucking thing because I'm Italian and I use my hands when I talk. If the procedural generation is top tier, he's clear. That's tough to go from tier to he's.
I did. That's all I needed for that clip, was just me saying I did at the door.
Do as much as you can to get as many hands on the controller as possible. Fuck, and again with the Italian shit. You should be getting constant... I really didn't proofread this.